Welcome to the C2Future C2World event organized by the Lombardo Mobility Cluster within the C2Future project, co-funded by the COSME program of the European Union. My name is Sara Cortese from the Lombardy Mobility Cluster, and here with me there are Gungor Odunku, Managing Director of Brist Axle System, Todor Mitov, Project Manager of the Digital Transformation and Innovation Cluster in Bulgaria, and Krasimira Shindarova, who is the Project Manager and the Project Leader of the C2Future.
Thank you, Sara. Thank you for the opportunity to be here at this great event, and thank you for the organization. Welcome to everyone that is listening us online. I wish a very fruitful event today. My name is Krasimira Shindarova. I'm coordinator of C2Future project, Clusters for the City of the Future, that is funded under Cluster Go International Program of COSME program of European Commission. Internationalization and entering new markets is very important for the companies, especially for the small and medium-sized ones, and it was a challenge even before the pandemic. Now it's even much harder. So our project is aiming to create very favorable opportunities for companies to create new products and to enter markets beyond Europe. Thank you, Sarah.
Since it doesn't work, the remote control.
So six clusters are joining efforts in the same.
Sorry, just
a little technical.
Yes, exactly. Issue.
We are six clusters that are joining efforts in supporting companies, and we are based in 5 countries, such as Italy, the beautiful Italy, Spain, Bulgaria, Serbia, and Greece, and we create a lot of activities in order to support our company's members, and not only our members, but to understand more about these markets, and to find new partners, and to have better opportunities to go there. The partnership is focused to support companies that are working in the field of smart cities. Our clusters are working in different areas of this part, such as technology sector, environmental technologies, mobility, and smart buildings. So during the next year, you can contact us. Later on, you will hear more about each of us with a short introduction. What we did until now. Here is my presentation. What we did until now in order to understand what are the challenges, needs, and barriers of the companies, not just to design our activities from nowhere. We did preliminary mapping of the needs and of the interest of the companies to go on international markets. So what we had as a result actually didn't surprise us much, because what we see is that there is a kind of lack of financial resources, lack of resources of the companies to understand the opportunities in these foreign markets, and regarding lack of difficulties to find trustworthy partners, and it's also complicated for the skills on ongoing international. That's why we sit on the table together with experts in the field of internationalization and facilitators, and we had the kind of working groups where we share knowledge, identify possible technological niches and complementarities and market intelligence gathering in order to design the project ideas beneficial to companies. Of course, for those of you that are interested, you can access this information. We are also doing capacity building webinars, so you can listen them online. Actually, there were 2 already passed, but you can access on this link that you can see on the screen, and also to register for the next one. They are also available in our social networks and channels that you can follow. So what else we are doing? We support companies for participation in matchmaking events. The next one is going to be on November, so you can register and meet potential partners there. We are also supporting cooperation of the companies and organizations with target markets. I just missed to say that we have identified several markets that we are going to focus our efforts, such as United States, Canada, Mexico, Colombia, and Algeria. Later on, you will hear more about these markets. We also support the visibility of the companies, their products and services through our very wide networks of partners, and we are organizing different events, trainings, and matchmaking events in these target markets. What else? We are starting very in-depth analysis available for SMEs. I missed to mention that all these activities are free for companies, so they can use this opportunity to contact us, to follow us, to understand more. And we are going to identify potential partners. We will create a strategy for internationalization together with a roadmap and information about the financial resources that companies could use. Here you can see our main focus, and what else? Follow us in the social media, so you can receive very, very good access to all the information and activities we are doing. Thank you, Sara.
Thank you, Krasimira. Thank you. Now I give the floor to Igor Aranguren, responsible for internationalization of Klima Basque Environment Cluster. So, Igor, if you are...
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for inviting Klima to this webinar. Okay, I'm going to just brief in 30 seconds what is a Klima. Klima is the Basque Environmental Cluster, representing more than 100 partners involving government, universities, R&D centers, and private companies involved in environmental sector. We have just get realized that the 4.0 new technologies, IoT, could be used in environmental sector, and what you are seeing now is our design of what new technologies, how can they help environmental sector. Next slide, you can see more in depth the center of these new technologies uses, which is data collection, storage and analysis, because of course you have to analyze all the data you receive from the sources, from the new technology sources. In the next slide, the use of this knowledge, of these new technologies, how can we use it for primary sector? Controlling the growth of the crop, how to make this irrigation predictably, losing less water, and doing more efficiently the use of the resources. Okay? In the next slide, you can see how to the same as the primary sector, how to using the biodiversity and the trees, and the mountains and everywhere. You can use these new technologies for helping industries, and not only industries but also citizenship to get aware and to use more efficient all the resources we have. Because as you know, this nature is also a resource for all of us. Passing to the cities in there in you know you can use these new technologies for monitoring and helping to solve problems with air quality, with energy efficiency. As here in Aclima, the most important is waste management and water management, as they are the big waste sources in the biggest problem sources in the cities nowadays, at least. So we can help the governments to create plans to make it more efficient, this waste collection, this waste disposal, this waste revalorization, to make the circular economy the closed circle. So we can use this waste as new resources. Okay, and in the last slide, you can see how we can control the risk and the impacts in the environmental. Here in Spain, you have seen the news these last weeks. We have this volcano in La Palma. So with these new technologies, we can get aware and as much as we can be prepared for this risk. Also, the warmth of the earth, the sea level rising. So this new environmental risk, we can be prepared. Not at all, but as good as we can. Okay, and this is how the new technologies can help this environmental sector. This is what we are looking now to get these clusters as the one we are working on this project and others. How can we help each other? How can we collaborate to put these new technologies to work for the environmental sector? Okay, and I think this is my time. Thank you very much again for the invitation.
Thank you, Igor, for your overview of the Aclima Basque Environment Cluster. I will present now the Lombardy Mobility Cluster. The Lombardy Mobility Cluster is one of the 9 technological clusters in Lombardy. It oversees the automotive, railway, boating, and intermodal sectors. It involves more than 60,000 people and 21 billion euro turnover in Lombardy. At the moment, we have 79 partners among trade associations, big enterprises, small and medium enterprises, and university and research centers. The main activities of our clusters are related to the sustainable mobility, to the alternative fuels and tractions, public transport, sport, mass reduction, onboard sensors, and connected vehicles, intermodality, comodality, and logistics. And our international network is mainly due to 4 groups, which are the EUSALP, so the European Strategic Alpine Macroregion, the 4 motors of Europe, together with the Baden-Württemberg, Catalonia, and Auvergne-Rhône-Alpes, the C2Future, and the European Clean Hydrogen Alliance, which recently has accepted our SHINE project related to the usage of hydrogen in the public transport in their pipeline. So we are very proud of it. About our activity, we We act following the Sustainable Development Goals of the ONU Agenda 2030. We have chosen 7, and as you can see here, we try to keep them, to respect them and act with them in our mind. Our mission is to promote and facilitate the development of the competitiveness of the Lombardy mobility industry. We created 8 thematic groups at different levels, so regional, national, and community level, with several projects that we carry on with the help of our members. We are strongly convinced that the future scenario will reserve us a plurality of tractions, and we are convinced that in the next decades, 2 decades, we will have many tractions and many fuels, so electrical, methane and biomethane, hydrogen, and this kind of different resources in mobility. Here are some of our associates. You can see here also Brist and Softec, which are the 2 companies that we will have the opportunity to follow in some minutes. And now I leave the floor to Todor Mitov from the Dti Cluster in Bulgaria.
Thank you, Sarah. It's very nice to be here. Now I will present the Dti Cluster from Bulgaria. It's a cluster started in 2008 as a part of the ICT Cluster Society, which is sort of an umbrella organization that combines over 10 ICT organizations in the country in order to boost the ICT sector in Bulgaria. It combines more than 280 SMEs and 6 university and research centers, as well as digital is a part of a digital innovation hub. But the Dti cluster itself, its main activities and focus is in order to support the digital transformation of Bulgarian industry and society, directly boosting the innovation and research and development activities in the country, and directly support ICT SMEs and their growth and to be more competitive. The main sectors in which the Digital Transformation Innovation Cluster acts is smart manufacturing, smart cities, and intelligent transport. Doing that, it has a very easy to follow structure. It's on one side includes technology providers, SMEs. For some reason, this slide doesn't want to stay on your screens, but technology SMEs as well as SMEs. For some reasons, my presentation, maybe I don't have much time, but technological companies that provide smart technologies and different kind of Internet of Things, big data. I will go back again and again. All these technologies that you can see for a fraction of a second on your screen, as well as manufacturing companies, transport companies, and construction companies, in order to achieve this smart manufacturing, smart city ecosystem that we desire in a circular, eco-friendly economy. And Dti Cluster is part of several networks that you may see for a second on your screen. I'm going to briefly tell them two digital innovation hubs. I4MS, ADMA, 3BICT, which is a Balkan and Baltic network. And I will stop because, as I see, the presentation is going faster and faster. So thank you very much for the invitation and being here, and thank you for the attention.
Okay, thank you, Todor. The Murphy Law is shooting us also this time. Okay, thank you. Now Giuseppe Rossi, Managing Director of the Green Home Cluster, is connected. So thank you, Giuseppe, and welcome.
Okay, hello to everybody. Thank you for the invitation. I cannot see the slides now. Okay. But well, I will start presenting Green Home. We are part of a set of poles of innovations based in Calabria, which is a southern Italian region. Putting together companies and research centers and universities mainly operating in our regions. Construction sector is the main, probably traditional economic sector in the region, and we gather together companies in the construction sector, in the material and component related to the constructions, but also other transversal companies for the construction sectors like IT, for example, which is a niche but a very important sector for the region to exploit a sort of outward projection of our economy, IT and advanced materials. Our main job is to put together innovative projects between companies and knowledge centers. We have about 80 companies associated and 2 universities, the University of Calabria in Cosenza and University of Reggio Calabria, University Mediterranea based in Reggio Calabria. They represent the key competencies, scientific competencies for sustainable building in Calabria. The typical associated companies are small and medium-sized ones. Personal Factory is a key example of a medium company, a small company, let's say, that has a very innovative, interesting profile, putting together IT, material, in a new business model practice. They produce powders used in constructions in a self-made manner using, let's say, local auto production, which is certified to be distributed on the territory using low local materials, so cutting down transportation costs and adapting the production to the local systems. And they are presenting their products all over the world. So you can find within our cluster companies such as Personal Factory and also some more traditional companies in the production, in the construction sector. And we are trying to put them together collaborate mainly along 5 lines. The first one is waste recovery that we are trying. So along this, let's say, innovation chain, we try to put together companies and research centers. Specifically for waste recovery, we are trying to have a specific application for beach nourishment using waste recovery. Next slide is the usage of natural fibers in construction, in buildings. Is based on a long research experience that we are trying to put on the market to make more concrete in specific products using hemp and blooms. Next slide. There's also a patent, an innovative concept for facade systems, providing supporting non-invasive interventions for refurbishing existing buildings, and with a modular approach. We put together several companies and the two universities around this project. Next slide. Smart building is clearly one of our key areas of activity. In this topic, I would like to mention a specific attention to the BIM building information modeling processes and tools, where several companies are both users and also producers of specific solutions for BIM processes. We propose ourselves, and we are participating to the C2Future projects to provide additional opportunities of collaboration to our companies and also to external companies interested to collaborate with us using regional funds, establishing innovative cooperations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Giuseppe, for your overview of the Green Home cluster. Now let me introduce you Marina Blagojevic, project manager and the cluster manager and project coordinator of ICT Network in Serbia. Welcome, Marina.
Hi, Sarah. Hello, colleagues. Nice to see you all. As Sarah mentioned, I'm Marina Blagojevic, the ICT director, of the ICT cluster from Serbia. I have to say that we are very jealous that we are not there with you in person, but we are very grateful that we can be part of such a big event as the World Manufacturing Forum. So we can start with the presentation. I will talk fast in the case that, okay.
Just
the previous one, yes. So in short, the ICT network is the association of companies, individuals, academic and research institutions, and we are a classic cluster working in a triple helix model from 2010. We have two types of companies, the one that are dealing with the software and the one that are dealing with the embedded sector, and we are completely bottom-up initiative. Next slide, please. This is our cluster in the numbers. We are 11-year-old now. We have 33 SME members, 25 startups within our network. So far, we conducted 23 projects, and we organize or co-organize 17 events. According to Inter, which is the institute here in Serbia, we are one of the 6 best clusters in Serbia now. Next slide, please. We would like to share with you some information about the internationalization. So the previous slide was like a very small map of all destinations that we have more of our partners because the companies here actually tell us which is the direction that they usually want to go. So what is the case with our internationalization? Because we don't have a very developed domestic market in some specific industry, then our companies do a lot of international cooperations with the companies abroad. Again, on the previous slide, you can see the some of the markets that is more interesting for us. And in the previous years, what we've done is actually a lot of study tours, a lot of business tours, and a lot of foreign visits having here in Serbia just to promote our domestic IT markets. Some of the major markets that we are working with internationally is Germany, Scandinavian market, and also China. Next slide, please. Partners and networks are also one of the ways how we do the international business. And as you can see, we are part of numerous national and international networks, and we also participate in a lot of EU and regional projects where we connect our companies with the companies from the other clusters and other industries, of course, with the goal of cooperation, joint projects, and improving their business. Next slide. This is just a short and some examples of internationalization or how we actually conduct it. What we do is we have the initiative from our members, and we try to organize the business tours, study tours in cooperation with our partners on the target markets. For that, as I already mentioned, we use international projects. Some of them are listed here, and the more or less the principle is the one that we have now in our project. What we try to do is to just show that the ICT is actually a very good tool to boost other industries, and in that manner to work on cooperation with other industries on some target markets. Next slide. Okay, so shortly I will pretend to be a Greek today because our colleagues unfortunately cannot join us for this event. So shortly, the sixth partner in our C2Future project is the Hellenic Association of Mobile Application Companies, and they represent a very, very large network of the high-tech companies, more of 80 in Greece. What they are doing is they develop the mobile application, they have then provision of added value services of the telecommunication providers, and they also do a lot of innovation and internationalization projects. They're also part of a couple of jointly international networks that you can see on the slide that Todor showed, that I show already, because we are cooperating within the years. And they also have a lot of international events, international projects that they conduct with a partnership with the different organizations. We can go to the next slide. This is the goals of their organization. And as I mentioned, they have more than 80 companies, and some of their members are the biggest companies in Greece.
Okay, thank you very much, Marina, also for the overview of the SECE company, and we hope that our attendees will appreciate it. And now I would start with the presentations by the Chambers of Commerce, and in particular with Paolo Ceresa, Senior Advisor of the American Chamber of Commerce in Italy. Welcome, Paolo.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting AmCham and myself to this webinar. And welcome also to the listeners to this webinar. I will start my presentation delineating the activities of the American Chamber of Commerce in Italy, then going through a few data on the economic and transatlantic relations between Italy and the United States, and then finally giving a few inputs on doing business in the USA. Next slide, please. Okay, next one. Thank you. Now, the American Chamber of Commerce in Italy was founded in 1915 in Milan. It is affiliated with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C., which is more or less like our Confindustria in the United States, with over 3 million companies associated and 117 AmChams in 103 countries worldwide. The president of the honorary presidents of AmCham are the Italian ambassador in the United States and the U.S. ambassador in Italy. Now, it's a founding partner of the European Council of American Chamber of Commerce in Brussels, which is an organization that protects free trade between EU and United States. Next slide, please. Now, the missions is related to three main issues: the economic relations, commercial relations, and political relations between Italy and the United States. The main objective of AmCham is to promoting and protecting the interest of its members. Next slide, please. Now, AmCham Italy has a little bit over 500 members, covering about 2% of the national GDP represented. Now, 10% of its members are ranking on the Fortune 500 of the Global 500. We have several meetings, events during the year, about 50, I would say even more than 50. During the pandemic, we had one webinar every week, practically addressing different issues relating to the pandemic, obviously, the economic impact and social impact of the pandemic in Italy and also in the United States, and other issues, maybe tax issues or legal issues and customs issues and this kind of sort of themes. Next slide, please. Thank you. Our headquarters is in Milan, where I'm speaking from. We have local representatives, which are generally professionals, lawyers, CPAs, managers, which bring the word of AmCham in each Italian region. There are occasionally more than one representative for each region. For example, you see in Piemonte we have 3, and Emilia-Romagna we have 2, and so on. Their job is to help members in those areas to be informed on the opportunities that the US market has to offer to them. We also have a representative in the United States covering the major states. We have one also in California, which is brand new, but is not listed here yet. Next slide, please. Now, the main activities of AmCham involve 3 areas. Advocacy, which is acting as an intermediary between companies and institutions, Italian and US institutions, to address issues that are, let's say, blocking in some kind the free trade of goods or investments in the United States. Then we have an area of networking, which is practically the organization of events, seminars, luncheons, and dinners. And then we have business services, the area of business services, which covers substantially the internationalization process of Italian companies in the US. Now, for the theme of this webinar, I will focus on business services. Next slide, please. Next one. Thank you. Business services. Now, our business services cover different aspects, and these are the 6 major aspects that we cover with this area. Target scouting. Now, what is a target scouting? If a company needs to or has planned to invest in the United States by acquiring an existing company in the United States or making a joint venture with an existing company in the United States, we scout different sources in order to find few potential targets for their investment. And we send the member a report about the company structure, the US company structure, the governance, and so forth. Now, incentive analysis. If a company needs to invest in the United States, we analyze the best states for the company to invest in based on their respective cluster and the incentives that are offered by the states and by the counties on that particular state. Selection analysis. Selection analysis is supporting in locating the most suitable location for an M&A, joint venture, or opening a branch or a manufacturing facility. So we select a state or a county based on their cluster and on the incentive that was mentioned before. Another service is the business matching. Business matching is to identify potential partners to support the company expansion in the US. This is mainly a service dedicated to the companies who need to export to the United States, like distributors, importers, or agents. Then we can analyze the procedure for certification and authorization for importing certain kinds of product in the United States, like FDA certification, USDA, UL, TTB, and so forth. And finally, and these are practically for the most important companies that invest heavily in the United States, is the stakeholder outreach, which cover substantially the contact with state governors, the major institutions that can help facilitate the investment of the Italian company. Next slide, please. Now, economic transatlantic relation. I will give you a few numbers. I'm not gonna focus on the numbers because usually are a little bit boring, at least to me. But anyway, this map shows the value of the US GDP based on other states. For example, we can see California has the GDP, more or less, has the same GDP of United Kingdom. Texas has the same GDP of Canada, and Florida of Mexico, and so on. You will see that when you approach the US market, you have to consider that if you want to sell to California, for example, you have to keep in mind that it has a power similar to the buying power of the United Kingdom together. So if we detach California from the United States, it will be part of the G7. Now, next slide, please. Thank you. Business relations, these are imports and exports from Italy to United States. Now, the data you will see are on the percentage you will see are a compounded annual growth rate percentage. So from 2003 to 2020, the Italian export grew by almost 95%, almost double. And from 2003 to 2020, American export to Italy grew at about 90%. Now, the American market is number one for European destinations of non-European destinations for Italian products, and number three globally after Germany and France. So excluding the European Union, our first market for our export is the United States. Next slide, please. These are data of export by US region. Now, you will see the first 5 regions are all on the northern part of Italy: Lombardia, Emilia-Romagna, Veneto, Piemonte, and Toscana. I'm not going to go through all the data of every region, okay? But just to give you an overview on how it is figured, the export map to USA by every Italian region. Next slide, please. Now, this one is the FDI, foreign direct investment, Italy to US and US to Italy. Now, from 2003 to 2019, which is the last data available, US FDI to Italy grew by 51%. From 2003 to 2019, FDI, Italian FDI to US grew by 372%, or 4 times. Again, these are compounded annual growth rates, okay? Now, despite, like it's written, despite the good numbers, Italy needs to attract more FDI to accelerate growth, while Italian companies are rapidly growing in the US. What does that mean? That we monitor the Italian investment in US and they are growing quite fast, as the percentage show, but they are not growing in the contrary, in the opposite. US FDI in Italy are lacking for many reasons, which I'm not gonna enumerate here, but in the next slide, thank you, you will see that FDI from Europe to USA, we are at 11th, on the 11th slot, just before Norway. All others are attracting more investment than us. Next slide, please. This is practically an infographic of what we just said before. Next one, thank you. Now, if a company wants to invest in United States, there are some economic program that the Biden administration put in act, which are the American Rescue Plan, American Jobs Plan, American Families Plan, which all of them tend to help the founding of new companies and the attraction of new investment. The total of these programs are about $6 trillion. Okay, next one. Now, doing business in the US. Now, there are some golden rules which everybody should know by now, but I continue to say because sometimes there are some mistakes that are done still. Now, the first one is to have catalogs in English language. Now, saying in English language is not enough. I mean, the catalogs should be in English, but not Google translated. Okay, they should be in a perfect English language. Okay, because the client knows that has been translated by Google, for example, or by a non-expert English translator, and that reflects on the interest that you have in the US market. Now, business plan. If you want to enter the US market, you have to dedicate staff, you have to dedicate time, lots of time, and money. Okay? The United States is a big market, is a complex market, is a very competitive market, and is a very costly market also. Complex market because it's 50 states in one country. That means that every state has its buying habits. Okay? Not everyone buys the same product. Okay. Now, before even thinking about entering the US market, you have to check about US standards and regulations for your particular product. And if it's not adapted for the US market, you have to get a US certification, FDA, USDA, and whatever. And be informed of the custom duties that are applied to your products so that you can elaborate a price that covers also the customs duties. Why? Because generally speaking, US companies prefer to have a final price including customs duties. Check on the cluster, distribution cluster, manufacturing cluster, to focus your interest in a particular area of the United States. Selling to United States is like selling to 27 states in Europe, okay? So you have to focus on a particular area. Then you can start to research importers and distributors. There are many ways you can research the importers and distributors. One way that is the most productive and the less time consuming is contacting the local association for the sector you are interested in. Value proposition. The value proposition of your company should answer the first question that they will ask you. Why should they buy your products? Okay? And saying because it's the best, because it's made in Italy, it's not enough. Okay? So you have to elaborate a reason why your product, why the client should buy your product and leave and not buying anymore another similar product. Because when you go to sell your product in the United States, you will see that competition is very harsh. Okay? and you will find that your product is sold by N other companies around the world. Now, the most, thank you. Now, one of the most important issues here is when you sell a product, if it's a consumer product, industrial product, is to have a customer care and post-purchasing assistance. That is most important, okay? Because US clients, let's say, give a lot of importance to the customer care, okay? Even if you sell food or if you sell industrial machinery, you have to have a customer care, okay? Respect the deadline of delivery, and if you plan to travel frequently to USA, get informed about the US visas that you probably will need. Next slide. Well, this I'm going through quite fast here. Every state, for the company who need to invest, have economic development organizations that are focused on attracting foreign investments, okay? Every state has its incentives. Economic development organization can give you an overview of the incentives, and states usually compete with each other for attracting your investment. Okay, next one, please. There is a website, a very useful website, which is called Select USA, where by clicking on a state, it shows you the incentives applied to every kind of investment you need to perform. Industrial investments in this case, okay? Next slide, please. We were talking about cluster. These are a map of the most important clusters in US industries. Again, here, to check on the appropriate cluster, there is a website called Cluster Mapping. If you Google it, a website will pop up and you can check on, depending on your sector, where the cluster is located. Next slide, please. Again, for companies who need to invest, every state has counties, much like Italian provinces. Each county is defined by a tier level. Tier 1 is the most depressed, tier 2, tier 3 is the most advanced. Obviously, if you're looking to get the most of incentives, they are more important on depressed areas and less evident on the advanced areas. Next slide. Now, we talked about US visas. Now, more than before, it's important to have the correct visa to enter the United States. Now, they say that from November 8, there won't be the need anymore for a national interest exemption, etc., etc. But in any case, having a visa will more or less assure you entrance to United States without any hassle. There are several visas. Here I have outlined 5 visas, B1 for conferences and seminars and so forth, E1, E2 for investors, H for temporary work, L for intracompany transferee, J for some J's for student exchange. Now, I encourage each one who needs to go to the United States to check if they need a visa well in time, because getting a visa here can take from 2 months to 8 months to get one of these visas. Next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Paolo, for your useful presentation. Very, very interesting. I will provide your contacts to the small and medium enterprises who will ask me for it.
Thank you.
Okay, now I would welcome Ruggera Sarcina, Director of the Italian Chamber of Commerce in Canada. Hello, Ruggera.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Thank you.
First of all, I would like to thank Sarah and the Lombardy Mobility Cluster for inviting me to this event.
You're
and
welcome.
of course, I would also like to welcome all the participants. And over the next 10-15 minutes, I will try to present an overview of Canada as your possible target market. Well, waiting for the slides.
Potete caricare le slide, per favore? It seems that they have, there's a technical issue. Devo chiedere di fare un change. Okay. Okay, Ruggera, is this the first one?
No, this is the second one.
Okay. Okay, the first one, it doesn't start.
Okay, never mind. So this is the first part. So what I'm going to talk about, first of all, Canada in a nutshell, which will give you the basic information on Canada and its peculiarity. Second, I will try to talk about the key asset, that is, which are the main strong points which allow Canada to have one of the most facilitating this environment. Third point is the EU-Canada trade. We summarize the characteristic of a trade balance between Canada and European Union. Does EU export more than Canada or vice versa? And which sector and which EU countries can be considered best performer? Then the opportunities in IT sector, you are mostly interested in. So which are the specialization in Canada and the emerging opportunities? The final recommendation, which clarify what internationalization means for high-tech sector, what option you may have, which are the emerging trend you should consider in your internationalization strategy. So as far as the Canada in a nutshell, first of all, as you may know, Canada is the largest country after Russia, but it has less than 38 million inhabitants. The population is mostly concentrated around the metropolitan areas of Toronto in Ontario, Montreal in Quebec, and Vancouver in British Columbia, and along the border with USA. This concentration is an important consideration when an internationalization and commercial strategy has to put into place. Second, Canada is a multicultural country, and bilingualism is a part of this. English and French are the two official languages, although they are spoken differently. The most important French-speaking province is Quebec. This doesn't mean you must speak French in Quebec if you are there for business. The business community speaks English as well, but in that context, just a few words in French can help your business relations. Other key information, Canada has a federal government. This means the provinces, which correspond to the states for the USA, have huge autonomy, and some rules of the game can be different from province to province. This is important, especially for some sector, which can impact on, of course, your internationalization opportunities. Other relevant information, most of the companies in Canada are SMEs, small and medium-sized one. This characteristic is also important in taking decision on the target market. Doing business between SMEs, Canadian, European, is certainly easier. Another information, Canada has a clear specialization in some high-tech sector. This means you have to be aware of a specialization of R&D activities on trends, on technological gaps, main sectoral stakeholders when planning strategies for our market. Last but not least, we say Canada is one country, but it has multiple markets. This means that the country is not homogeneous in terms of market opportunities. Next, please. So, You will see here the synthesis of main peculiarities of the four most important provinces, which are Quebec and Ontario on the east part of country, and British Columbia and Alberta on the west part of the country. Quebec is the province registering the fastest economic recovery after the COVID-19 economic crisis, thanks in huge part to the investment made by the provincial government. This is the French-speaking province. It offers a typical European culture, and in fact is known as being a sort of little piece of Europe in North America. It has a strong specialization on ICT, big data and artificial intelligence, but also life sciences, aerospace, mobility, and green tech. Ontario, which is the biggest province in Canada, is also the most interconnected and economically and cultural with the USA. Alberta, which is known as being a sort of Texas of Canada, is the oil and gas province, and British Columbia is on the Pacific coast, is the most connected area with the Asian market. It has also a huge part of the population of Asian origin. It has also the youngest population in Canada, and is strongly specialized in green energy and green tech. Next, please. Canada has other key assets which facilitate the business environment. For example, it ranks first among the G7 countries for potential investment. That is, for the opportunities investment can create. It has the lowest tax rate corporate investment. It has an efficient bureaucracy, allowing to be a leader country for what is called the ease of doing business. Next, please. Moreover, Canada is one of the countries with the most commercial treaties in the world. The most important one on commercial point of view and strategic point of view is CUSMA, which is a Canada, United States, and Mexico agreement. Because of course, for Canada, the United States is the most important commercial partner. But the treaty we are interested in is called CETA, Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement. CETA has been operative since September 2017, and besides other includes an almost total elimination of tariff barriers, openness to European countries for public procurement, preferential treatment with respect to investment, but also facilitating of movement for intra-corporate workers. Next, please. If we look at the trade balance, it's clear that EU sells to Canada much more Canada sells to European Union. Even if over the last couple of years, Canada has increased its export quota, the balance is still favorable to Europe. In the data you see here, United Kingdom is included, but if you consider data from EU after the Brexit, the positive balance for EU is much more evident. This is EU for sure continue to export to Canada much more than it buys from Canada. The three most important exported countries are France, Italy, and Germany, but most of the European countries are performing quite well and have a real evident positive trade balance with Canada, including your countries, that is Bulgaria, Greece, Spain, and Serbia. Next, please. You can see here summing up, especially the main product EU export to Canada. So a lot of high-tech sector product, but also more traditional ones such as food and wines. The next one, please. So focusing on high-tech sectors, which are the main one that could offer European SMEs some market opportunity. First of all, ICT. ICT is a huge sector spread all over Canada, but with a concentrated specialization in Quebec. Among all other specialization, we have multimedia gaming. Montreal, Vancouver are renowned worldwide for this specialization. The area of Montreal is also well known for IoT, big big data and artificial intelligence. In fact, Montreal is one of the world capital of AI and also the headquarters of so-called AI supercluster. This means that in addition to provincial investment, the Montreal metropolitan area benefits from federal investment in artificial intelligence. Cybersecurity is a clear emerging sector. And last but not least, the ICT applied to life sciences and healthcare. As far as smart mobility, we have electric vehicles, open data, connected vehicles, autonomous driving, and emerging so-called zero-emission vehicles. Life sciences and healthcare. In your case, as you are more, interested on ICT application, of course, life science and healthcare, and we have a strong specialization and growing opportunities in all the filière of digital health. And as far as green tech, renewable energies, hydrogen, for example, one of the most advanced R&D group on hydrogen is well established in Canada, but waste management, and as far as circular economy concerned, especially plastic brokering and recycling. The next one, please. Yes, the next one. No, the previous one. Okay, so in this context, perfect, thank you. So in this context, what does it mean doing business with Canada? First of all, what does internationalization mean? For high-tech sectors such as ICT, mobility, green tech, you may have different options. Export, of course, but also strategic agreement. For example, if you are a company dealing with some green technologies, you may participate to a tender and procurement. In this case, you need to have a local partner, or you may need to create a subsidiary in Canada in order to speed up the penetration consolidation on the market. Or, for example, if you are a small company with a real innovative product, you could have access to Canadian capital. So in this case, you may look for a venture capital organization as a first option. Another option could be to create a joint R&D activity in order to develop a new product or adapt your product to our market. Second, some warnings. Canada is a mature and competitive market. You need to approach it with a strategy and with a well-defined goal. You also need to be well-focused on the goal to be reached and invest the necessary time and resources. If you have a strategy, and of course the strategy can be defined starting from a market analysis. If you have a well-defined goals, if you are focused on that goals, if you invest time and resources, the Canadian market can yield long-term great result. And as I just mentioned, in order to define the strategy and the goals, you need to know the market, the player, the competitive edge, as well as the rules of the game, especially for some sectors. Knowing some basic rules is essential. For example, if your product has some electric components, you may need a certification in order to access the market. Another warning concerns your value proposition. Most of the time, it may need to be adapted to the market. You need to present your strong point and competitive position with a different perspective. So simply reusing your institutional brochure to present yourself on the market is for sure is not enough. Finally, it's important to take into consideration some emerging trends. Digitalization, of course, is a priority in Canada as well as in Europe, and is a priority for Canadian SMEs. But digitalization impact also on the consumer side. And this means, for example, that consumers in Canada purchase more and more on various e-commerce platforms. So this, if you have a product for consumer, this is a strategy and access channel you should take into consideration. Sustainability is also a clear trend that you may need to consider for your strategy. On the consumer side, sustainability means Canadians are more and more interested in sustainable product, but also packaging. They're interested also in sustainable building, mobility. All their purchase decisions are more and more linked to the priority of sustainability. So this means also that you should be able to communicate the sustainability of your offer, of your product, of your services, of your technologies. Next, please. Finally, 1 minute to present our organization. The Italian Chamber of Commerce in Canada is a no-profit private organization working to promote and facilitate the internationalization process of small and medium-sized enterprises. We mainly work in the sector of ICT, mobility, life sciences, green tech. And we accompany our client throughout the whole internationalization process, which means assessing the company and its degree of readiness to our market, identifies the most suitable strategy, facilitating and identifying the potential partner and client, assisting the company in defining the agreement with their counterpart, offering assistance during the consolidation phase on the market. We also organize some key events, one of which is devoted to artificial intelligence, and the next edition will take place in a digital format next November the 18th and 19th. The next one, please. This year, the Artificial Intelligence Forum will be dedicated to sustainability and how AI can facilitate and speed up the adoption of sustainable business model. We will focus our attention more especially on energy and circular economy, mobility, and digital health. So if you are interested in these themes, please join us on the 18th and 19th of November. You are more than welcome. The next one. So you will find out all my reference, all my address and mobile. So do not hesitate to contact me directly for any further information you may need. And thank you.
Now we know more about the Canadian market, and I really hope that some enterprise will start making business in this beautiful territory. Now, I welcome Lorenzo Vianello, President of the Italian Chamber of Commerce in Mexico. Lorenzo? Okay.
Hi to everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you to all the organizers for inviting me, and a special thanks to the General Consulate in Mexico for facilitating my presentation here, and the Consul General Maria de Los Angeles. So, it is possible to charge the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So, we are talking about internationalization for small and medium enterprises, and in my case about
Non vanno avanti le slide.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. So, why Mexico? Mexico is the 15th largest economy in the world. Is the second Latin America's economy after Brazil, and the third European Union commercial partner in all the Americas, and the second largest customer in all the American continent for Italy, after United States. And Italy is the second European Union commercial partner of Mexico after Germany. So let's take a deeper look at Mexico in the next slide, please. And its main characteristic. It has a strategic geographical position. It's located in North America with more than 3,000 kilometers of border with the United States. It's a natural integration between North America and Latin America, and also a bridge between the Atlantic and the Pacific region. It's the 5th largest country in the continent and the 3rd most populated after United States and Brazil. Mexico is a growing country with over 125 million inhabitants, almost 50% of them economically active. The median age is 29 years old, so it represents a growing target market in almost every sector. For that, and also thanks to a stable growth and good macroeconomic policies during the past 30 years, it's a very competitive destination for investments, both nationals and foreigners. Mexico, next slide, please. Mexico possesses a wide availability of raw materials and natural resources. It's the fourth country in the world with the greatest biological diversity. It's a growing market for digital adaptation and e-commerce. This, because the young age of the population and in the past 1.5 years of pandemic situation, the e-commerce has reached a penetration of more than 50% to a large variety of platforms. Finally, it has an enormous commerce and economic interchange with the United States that is by far the main trading partner of Mexico. It represents more than 3/4 of country's exportation. In the next slide, we can take a brief look at the macroeconomic framework. The inflation rate has been under 5% in the last, I think, 15 years. Active population is 46%, 47%. Unemployment rate is very low. Gross domestic product is above $1 trillion, and you can see total import, total exports, and commercial balance that is positive. In the next slide, we can see the main states by international sales and purchases. Next, please. Okay, it's not a problem. It's just a slide where you can see the main states is like Canada or United States presented about states and importance of some areas above others. I can tell that Mexico City and surrounded area, Chihuahua in the north, Nuevo León in the north, where is Monterrey, Baja California and Jalisco are the main states of that exports to mainly United States. Okay. Then, regarding Mexico's exportations or exports, we can see the big numbers, and we can also see which is the main products that are exported and the principal destination. Automotive sector is hugely the big market. Right now, Mexico is the fourth biggest exporter of automobiles in the world, after Germany, Japan, and the United States. Computers and other technological products are also very important. And regarding the destination countries, you can see how big the difference is between the USA and Canada, that is Mexico's second customer, thanks to obviously the position, the geographical position, and the trade agreement that started in 1994. In the second slide, in the next slide of imports, the obvious first place is the automotive sector with automotive parts, and the second is our electronic circuits. And regarding the country of origin of the Mexico's imports, there are a little more equilibrated than in the exports, but still with a large difference between USA and China. Third and fourth place are of all respects, and Italy is the 10th provider of Mexico with almost $5 billion of exportation, and the second provider of all European Union after Germany. Now, next please. Small medium enterprises in Mexico during the past 1.5 year of pandemic The keynotes to talk about are the following. More than 1 million small businesses disappeared in 2020, close to 20% of total economic unities. Also, more than 6,100 of new establishments were born in the first 9 months of 2021. This represents about 30% of the country business population. Most important sector was commerce. So you can see the rapidly adaptation of businesses. We close, we open back. The pandemic caused a big growth of more than 50% in digital operation for small and medium companies. It shows a great ability to adapt to difficult situations. Now, next, please. Regarding foreign direct investment, Mexico received a total amount of almost $30 billion in 2020. The manufacturing sector is the leading sector in the field, followed by financial, energetic, and commercial. These investments are concentrated mainly near the United States border, the central area known as the Bajío, the states of Guanajuato and Querétaro, and San Luis Potosí, where we can find a huge specialization in automotive and aerospace industries, and in the Yucatan Peninsula for tourism. Spain is a big investor in Mexico in the tourism sector. Main investors countries are the United States, Canada, Spain, you can see is the third, and Germany. Italy represented the 5th main foreign investor in 2018, and there are a lot of opportunities in the near future. Most important sectors are, I don't know if, yes. Most important sectors are mechanical and automotive, infrastructure and construction, manufacturing industry, tourism, financial and insurance, and aerospace. Lately, there is a big demand from some states in the center of Mexico for technological and innovative industry. Take into consideration that Mexico produces about 130,000 engineers per year. So it's a very important number. Next, please. Next. And next. Okay, so what about the Italian Chamber of Commerce in Mexico? We are a non-profit organization. We are part of the more than 75 Italian chambers of commerce abroad, and we have big relations with Italian chambers in Canada and the United States, and so we can provide big assistance to Italian companies that want to come to Mexico, both for trading and investments. There are right now over 1,600 Italian companies in the country. Large Italian industrial groups and medium-sized companies have established interest in Mexico since in the last 30 years and have carried out important projects in the country. I don't know, automotive industry, it's present for tier 2, tier 3, and so it's very important, but also companies like Ferrero, like Barilla, like small companies that only trade with Mexico through importers and distributors have an important presence. Italian companies are mainly concentrated in the metropolitan areas of Mexico City and Monterrey, and in the industrial area of Querétaro and in the state of Guanajuato, known as the Bajío region. What do? We do a project for internationalization and advisory services to access the Mexican market. promotion and promotional activities for brand positioning, events and activities of networking between our associates, and content and support to our network of members. Thanks for your attention, and hope you can have this presentation shared.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo. I'm sorry for the mismatch for the last slides.
It's not a problem.
Yeah, but we carefully we were carefully listening your presentation and the services that you can provide to the small and medium enterprises who would like to start their business in Mexico. Okay, so thank you very much. I would like now go on with Gungor Odunku, Managing Director of Brist Axle System, with their experience from the field about internationalization.
Hello. Hello, this is Güngör. Nice. So I'm very glad to be here. That's why I would like to thank you, Lombardo Mobility Cluster, and also personally you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Today I would like to give some insights about our company, which is called Brist, which can give some good inspiration for small, medium-sized companies, because we are a 100% export company located in Italy. We have 0 sales in Italy, and today I would like to give first some insight about our company and then some experience in summary how we are doing this international business. Let's start with Brist. I will give just very basic information so that you understand the baseline and company. This is a company originated through Voigt, which is a German group. It was a business unit of Voigt, and then it operated in Italy 10 years under Voigt umbrella. But then the large corporation of Voigt decided to divest this business unit, and during that time my father was working there professionally. With a partner, they acquired all the shares from Voigt in 2014 from Voigt, and since then the company is operating under the name of Brist. We can move to the next slide. What we are doing an operation totally based in Italy. We have some representative offices in Istanbul and China. What we are doing is we are producing axle, suspension and gearboxes for vans, trucks and buses in all versions, electric, hydrogen, diesel, conventional. So we have a wide range of portfolio meeting the needs of this vehicle segment. Basically, we are doing an end-to-end product ownership. We are a different type of industry company. We are not a manufacturing company. We are not an engineering service company. We describe ourselves as a product company, starting from engineering. We do engineering in-house. We make a design, then we collect all the parts, global supply chain, most of them located are in Italy. We validate the product, and we do only assembly in our Italian plant. I explain this because this is giving us big flexibility in internationalization, because we do only assembly operations in-house. We don't have machinery investment fixing us to a country. For example, in case of local content need, we can easily clone this assembly lines and be local in that country. And we are also responsible of the product. We also provide after sales. As I explained in the introduction phase, as of today, we are exporting. We are a 100% export company. We don't have sales in Italy. I hope we will also have in future. But our customers are located all over the world. But we are in Italy. Generally, people are asking, you don't have any sales, why you are located in Italy? We are located in Italy because there is a good automotive know-how in Italy. We have a very good team in engineering and operations. There is a good supply chain, automotive supply chain, and Italy has a very perfect brand value for all export markets. That's why we will be always in Italy, but we may also have some other facilities in other regions, especially with local content required nations. We achieved to reach big global sales, even though we are operating in a very competitive industry dominated by giant companies. So that's why I tried to summarize the success insights from our experience. First, I say avoid competition. What does it mean? If you enter competition, it's always harder to generate some markets. So what we are doing, we are making something different than competitors. And how we are making international sales, they find us because they need the things we are doing. And second, I say do not underestimate underdeveloped markets. And third, build your local team with your mentality. I will give some case examples for each of three. Let's start with one. So I summarize, I don't want to give technical details, but we are operating with in a market where players are billion-dollar companies, and we always do something different. For example, this is a slide on the left. They do something on rigid beams called what we do independent. It's totally different. We can go to the next slide. And when there is a new vehicle need to be built, even in China, I just put these examples because China is a market where prices are extremely low and no one would buy from Europe to take the transport, etc. But how we are selling to China? We are selling to China because that product is not available in China. So they need something, we propose that thing, and that's why they come to Italy to buy it. This is a very unique vehicle. You can see on the left, and this is the longest bus in the world. So it makes snake movement because it's so long. How it can make snake movement? It's because of our unique technical axles enabling to do this. We can move to the next one. So this is the example. And second point, I said do not underestimate the underdeveloped markets. For example, on the left-hand side, you see we supply to BYD. They are the largest electric vehicle manufacturer of the world as of today. They are even in front of Tesla. And on the right-hand side, you see one of our customers from Uzbekistan. So we are extremely happy to be the supplier of BYD. But for example, that the vehicle we supplied is still doesn't have a big market, and even though we are selling to the BYD, we don't generate so big sales as people would expect from outside. But on the other hand, from an Uzbek customer, no one knows. We are generating huge sales. So you never know from where there can be a big market. That's why my advice would be do not underestimate underdeveloped markets. Then third and last but not least, so for example, especially in foreign language countries like China, I don't know, Russia, you need to have some local guide for sure, speaking local language, but local language is not the only capability. They should understand you, they should know the industry, they should be aligned with your mentality because cultures are different. You should, and for example, we found a guy who has a mentality aligned with us so we can communicate. It's not only a translator. So, and we didn't open, this is the last slide by the way, we didn't open a office in China because of regulation. Instead, I can suggest to you some flexible office areas. You rent a desk, you have a nice area, he is alone, but he doesn't feel like alone, and you don't oblige with big capital investment for this. I would suggest to use that common workspaces. You have an address, you have a business card, in Chinese address, that guy. So it's helping a lot while reducing the risk of making office investment, opening company, legal obligations. So this is one suggestion I can give from field. That was all from my side. I hope it helps.
Thank you very much for these smart suggestions. Okay, and now I welcome Maura Alfano, Marketing Manager of Softec. So last but not least, so thank you, Maura, for being here with us.
Morning, thank you, Sarah, and thank you to CNS to invite us to this event. It is truly a pleasure for me to be here today and to meet all of you also if, in this remote way. So I know that that time available is limited, so I will try to be quick. If we can go to the next slide, please. Okay. I give you just a couple of info about who we are and what we do. Obviously, for more info, you can visit our website. So Softec was founded in 1991. Our core business is development of software and monitoring systems, mainly for two sectors that are airports and highways. Thanks to our system, we are able to monitor and analyze traffic, environment, noise, quality, and much more. Obviously, during these 30 years of activity, our know-how has grown and evolved, and today we are able to offer solutions for a wide range of sectors, also very different from those I mentioned before, which however remain our main businesses. So here some value we assure to our customer with who we work, and our certification. Next slide, please. Okay, with this slide, I want to give you just an idea of our international presence. We obviously are present in Europe, in Italy with our main base, but thanks to a strong network of partners also in other countries. We are present also in Asia, in India, Saudi Arabia, and Thailand, and in America. And from America, sorry, started our extra-European internationalization project in the first decade of 2000. Here in US, we are present thanks to a strong, well-known international partner that allow us really a capillary presence on the territory. And since 2011, we are in Brazil, where we entered with an FBI. And in 2018, we started what we call the LATAM project, because after a positive experience in Brazil, we wanted to strengthen our presence on this region. And the idea was to found a second base from which we can then expand into other markets. And for us, this base was Colombia. Next slide, please. Okay, why Colombia? The reason that led us to choose Colombia can be summarized in this slide, which for reason of time I will not excessively argue, but okay, just a few words. Colombia is a country with a strong market for almost every sector. In the last 10 years, its economy has been growing by more than 5%, and it is one of the strongest economies in Latin, just behind Brazil and Mexico, if I don't say something wrong. Furthermore, there are a lot of business opportunities because of the market size and growth. For example, there is a huge need to get altitudes for every industry. And the other facts are the degree of openness to the foreign trade and investment in progress in infrastructure modernization works. In our case, focus was obviously on road and airport network. Okay, then last but not least, the proximity to other large markets of Latin America that in our interest was Mexico, Chile, and Peru. On the side, the summary of our approach, but I want to spend too many words on this. So next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, this is the slide that I think interests us the most, and is the first balance. I have tried to report to you some facts more than numbers and percentage, also because our experience started a few weeks before the pandemic outbreak. So we don't have so much numbers and percentages. Okay, this is the current situation. 3 progressing projects, each of these in a different country. Mexico, Peru, and Colombia. And the main theme of these projects is the monitoring of traffic and polluting emissions. In this regard, there is one thing I would like to emphasize, and is the fact that despite the pandemic, these projects never stopped. They have been slowdowns, obviously, but relations have absolutely been continuous and work has progressed. And I think that this has not been taken for granted, exactly as it was not for the reliability and seriousness of the partner and institutions, because during all our experience, we interfaced with absolutely professional and reliable people by the side of our partner, by the side of the customer, and by the side of the institutions. And I think this is very positive and important. Another fact is that our network of contacts has expanded very quickly, and consequently our range of action and our offer. And when I say spontaneously, I mean that it was certainly in our intention to expand into this market, as I appeared before, was one of the reasons that led us to choose Colombia. But it's also true that we have not yet begun to take action to that end, and we did not believe it would happen so quickly. So absolutely spontaneously growing. And I think that this confirms the strategic importance of Colombia's geographical position and obviously also the correct choice of our partner. Then increase of the product portfolio. Okay, I think that this point is important for the fact that the input to decide to extend our portfolio, to introduce IoT tools and systems in our portfolio has been given to us directly from the market. These IoT sectors show significant levels of growth in Colombia, but also in Mexico. And new tools based on this technology for every application are creating every day. And there are a big request also for mobility and sustainability. I would also like to point out another fact, also if not directly related to mobility, but okay, and is that another sector that shows great opportunities in these regions for our experience is the environmental one. Especially in Colombia, we found a strong regulation about the environmental care, which means that there is an incredible sector for consulting companies and for distribution of measurement and system. Okay, so next slide. Okay, time to conclude. So to sum up, I just want to say that our experience is absolutely positive in this target market. As for the forecast on the progress of these projects, to the point that in our company futures, there is the will to further strengthen the presence on these territories, probably also with another FDI in future. So thank you for your attention, and for any question or needs, please feel free to contact me.
Thank you, thank you. I will disseminate your contacts with everybody that will ask for them to the cluster, to the Lombardy Mobility Cluster. Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you to the colleagues of the C2Future. Thank you to the technical group that is in front of me. And I hope to see you next time in the next event of the C2Future in November. So see you in that date. Bye.